Chris Hansen is a man who truly does not need any introduction. Almost everyone knows, to some degree, who Chris is. Whether or not you just know him as the Catch a Predator host from the mid-2000s, or you know him as a guy who's currently going after YouTube people, or you're hip with the memes and know he's the pedo slayer, everyone knows Chris Hansen's a hero. Everyone knows because of him and his team, hundreds and hundreds of absolute monsters have been locked behind bars. Everyone knows that he's currently trying to get the most evil person on YouTube, Onision, locked behind bars. And if you really do need an introduction at this point on why Onision is as bad as he is, I'm not going to get into that can of worms. That'd take a whole day to get into, a whole 24-hour video for me to explain it, but you could watch the Right Opinions video on it, which I've linked below, which goes into really detailed events and is only an hour long. So after going on about Chris and how much of a hero he is, you're probably confused about not only the video title, but the video's nature. Isn't the video titled The Almost Downfall of Chris Hansen? How could Chris almost completely kill his career when he's this much of a hero? What could he have possibly done? Well, the funny thing is with that, the problem with Chris isn't even Chris, but in fact his team. And even funnier, it's not just his entire team, it's just one man, his media advisor, Vincent Notoria. You're probably wondering to yourself, how could his media advisor, of all people, lead to his eventual downfall, be his eventual downfall? Well, that's funny. Will you please have a seat and let me tell you the story of the downfall of Chris Hansen and the absolute destruction of Vincent Notoria's career?
I'm going to get right to the point. There is a problem with Chris Hansen's channel and his ongoing investigation.
The only thing worse than a scammer is a lazy scammer.
But instead of trying to ingrain himself in this community that loves him so, he decided he was just gonna shit on every other YouTuber that made any kind of content around To Catch a Predator so he could be the sole To Catch a Predator channel on YouTube.
I would like to sincerely apologise for letting my ego, anger, and short-sightedness interfere with my judgments. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I am deeply regretful for hurting and offending you all.
There is a loser YouTuber, Big Salmon and West. Hey, West and Phil, you realize you are poking the bear at Chris Hansen. I will expose the stuff out of you. It's funny, West talks about his family knows all about it.
Chris is fucking stupid.
The story begins in May when two YouTubers, Westmost and Baked Salmon, collaborated on a video together called Bakeline. In the video, the two talked very in depth about Chris Hansen's shitty website and pretty much critiqued every aspect of it, giving their thoughts and opinions on the website. After the video went public, Vincent Notoria actually ended up DMing Wes, and not only did he DM Wes, he thanked him for his criticisms and was actually asking for advice on how to fix the website. And he even eventually went as far to asking Wes to work for them. And Wes did go to work for them.
I worked with Vince about 6 or 7 weeks before giving up in late June. I'm a busy guy, and while he seemed to appreciate the assistance, he was unable to implement even the most simple of design changes or fixes to a marketing plan.
Then fast forward to August, Chris Hansen was doing a Q&A live stream, and the viewer, and also TCAP community member Yap Yap, was talking in the chat during the stream. In the chat, she was asking Chris if he'd be willing to meet up to get her book signed. But Chris completely ghosted her, not even giving her an answer. Chris ghosting her led all her built-up frustrations towards Chris. Now, you might be asking, which I've noticed I say a lot in this video actually, and how did Chris get away with uploading someone else's video? And two, if he could get away with it, how did she know it was hers? Well, the thing is it was a re-upload with some edits of a To Catch a Predator interview. The reason the Yap Yap know it was hers was because of some distinctive edits that she made that was not in the original program, as I discussed in my last video, which I do not recommend you watch because it's a piece of shit. The video, according to the law, the copyright did belong to Chris, but Yap Yap did go along and decided to copy strike Chris Hansen's channel. After this, Chris, in retaliation, struck 3 of Yap Yap's videos and giving her a strike. In response to this, Yap Yap made a video using pictures of monkeys with text adding on, asking Chris why he would do that. That video also was quickly struck down by someone on Chris Hansen's YouTube channel. Following Yap Yap, another channel decided to strike Chris's channel, this one being the Cappening channel. However, Yap Yap and the Cappening stories are actually very different. The Cappening actually had to spend his own money to recover police interrogation footage for one of the predators in the successor of the Catch a Predator, True Crime Daily's Hansen vs. Predator series. That was the successor to the Catch a Predator, spiritual successor. After the Cappening got his hands a hold of the police interrogation footage, he had to spend an entire week cleaning up the audio and just cleaning up the video in general, boosting the audio, just to get the video watchable. He then also added a 300-word description along to the video and posted it on his channel. Chris then took the video that he uploaded and then also the 300-word description and uploaded it on his paid website. And he did not give any credit to the person who actually found the footage, edited the audio, or made the description. After asking Chris for credit, Chris finally did give him some credit for the description, but Chris never gave him any credit for the work on fixing the videos. So the Captain decided to strike Chris's channel. After Chris received a second strike, he or Vince or someone else from the team that came up with the idea decided to, take a listen to the Venom soundtrack and take Eminem's lyrics a little too serious. Because the entire community was soon completely fucked over by copyright strikes. I think all in all, over 400 videos that was actually struck. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure the number. It could be 40. I'm pretty sure it's closer to 400 than 40, but I don't have the exact numbers. I'm using numbers that I've heard, so if that's incorrect, my bad. That's not a fact. I am admitting that's not a fact. A bunch of people who would speak up or would be critical of mainly Vince was quickly silenced and deleted. Joey's TCAP channel made a video talking over screenshots of emails that he got from YouTube. Again, he didn't get these emails from Chris or Vince. He got them from YouTube. That video was quickly struck down. An interview Vince agreed to on Bakeline was quickly struck down. An animation where someone decided to draw on the predators from Catch a Predator using sped up footage on a minimized screen on the right of the video was quickly taken down. I could keep going on, and you might be wondering why I'm using these examples in particular. One, because it was in the midst of Gigi video that I watched researching this video, and on top of my mind. And secondly, these videos are fair use. They are fair use in every single courtroom in every single copyright law in the United States. Any judge would rule this as fair use. These are fraudulent strikes, which is not only a little bit illegal, it's not like you're killing a baby, but in YouTube's eyes, it's like killing a baby, and you can get your channel deleted for that if they actually do something about it. I said when they actually do something about it, it's about killing a baby, okay? I'm not saying they always do something about it. Now, while this fuckery was going on, only one man in the community was left untouched. That man, that messiah, was Mr. Gigi. And when Chris was asked about why Mr. Gigi had been struck on one of his streams, he claimed it was because Gigi did nothing wrong. But his partner Vince had a much darker idea in his head. Vince actually texted Gigi and asked him if he was down to do a publicity stunt. When Gigi inquired further, Vince revealed that he wants Gigi to act like he's been struck. When Gigi says he thinks claiming a strike, he'd been struck by Chris, would go bad for Chris, Vince told Gigi that he does not believe in bad publicity. And in fact, he thinks it would all just go over smoothly. There will be new eyes on Chris's channel for some reason would subscribe to his channel, I guess, and watch his videos and give him ad revenue. I don't know what the correlation is, but yeah, to each his own. And it would all be good. He even compared that to the Matt Damon and Jimmy Kimmel feud, which was almost pretty obviously a joke. Why would either one agree to appear together if it wasn't a feud for laughs and giggles. But Gigi declined further, stating it would just end badly for Chris, and he isn't just willing to lie to his audience about something like that. But since he didn't have Gigi, Vince only grew more dangerous and immature. Actually, let me change that to something Vince would say. He grew more salty and dangerous. Around this time, Vince also started allegedly doxing people. And the reason I say allegedly, I have no real proof that the first doxing was Vince. But when we get later down the line in this video, even in the later segments, you will probably also think it was Vince. And, just real quick for those who don't know what doxing is, the very broad definition would be when information that is private is made public by a third party without the first party's consent. The first example of doxing happened on Reddit, where a user called official HVP doxed Yap Yap multiple times on a Reddit post, not only revealing that the person in the post was Yap Yap because she was going by a different alias at the time, but he also revealed her full name. Now, around the same time, another YouTuber who you may remember familiar was also doxed by Vince's official YouTube channel. Now, it being YouTube, and it being a comment, it was a lot easier to prove that this was real Vince and not some fake account trolling who could be a complete fake. Now, the interesting thing is how this comment was worded. The way Vince worded it was Westmost, aka Wesley, full last name. Sound familiar? Now, since they had a prior working relationship, Wes had Vince's number, and this is also how Vince had Wes's name, so Wes went to Vince and confronted him. And when confronted, Vince said this. So Vince just admitted to doxing Wes, and he even went as far to claim it was under Chris's orders. Now that part is kind of hit and go, because Vince is a fucking liar, and no one will ever know if Chris was actually instructed by Vince to do so, except for Vince or Chris. Or, except for Vince and Chris. But, after reading the message that Vince used to dox Wes, and also knowing that it was Wes meant Vince even confirmed it with Wes, I am willing to bet my left fucking nut that he also doxed Yap Yap. Now, after this, Mr. Gigi ended up uploading his video on the whole thing, and things began to die down. Some of the channels began to be reinstated, but Chris's old channel would soon be terminated. Whether or not this is because he falsely copyright claimed, 400 videos, or people would, decided to, if he's copyrighting us, we'll copyright him back, and that's what got deleted, I don't know. You might never know. But there was only one thing for certain at this point in time. Chris had to start a new channel, and rebuild everything because the entire TCAP community was against Chris now. And Chris, and it did end up finding a different avenue for his new channel. After the situation began to die down, Chris started back up his Q&A live streams and actually ended up promoting Vince to on-screen talent. While Chris and Vince's quality did begin to go up, they still wasn't pulling in the same views that they used to on the account of the TCAP community who once rushed to see what Chris was doing next, no longer supported him and didn't care about him. So Chris needed to find a new way to get views. This is where we meet Blade. Blade is an IRL streamer, and last year he and a few other streamers got together and began an RV series where they would travel around the country, meeting up with other streamers and just having a drunken good time. Things began to take a turn for the worse, however, when they picked up a streamer named Gushis. While live, Blade decided to ask permission from one of his friends to go back and sleep with her, who was at the time drunk and asleep, and then Blade did eventually end up going back there, and from the perspective of a viewer on the stream, things looked very bad. When the story started developing, Chris got wind of the story and was actually able to secure an interview with Blade, which actually went very well. Chris was able to prove that he still had it in terms of journalism, and he was a great interviewer. He was able to add pressure to his questions without being so blunt about, but he was able to do it subtly. After the interview, which blew up, Chris began being back in the spotlight. Well, it wasn't, the TV spotlight he was used to. It was the spotlight you want to be in the day. The social media spotlight. And more importantly, the YouTube spotlight.
Well, Chris Hansen's not on NBC, but he's back in the spotlight, and that's the YouTube spotlight, baby. And if there's a spotlight you want to be in today, that is
flooding to his channel, making suggestions right and left on who he should cover next. And almost coincidentally, right after the whole Blade scenario, another story began developing. The story of Ice Poseidon. Around this time, Ice accidentally showed his Discord chat log for just a mere second, but it was still able for people to view screenshots from, and people thought that it was between DMs between him and the 13-year-old that he met in Japan. After this, people started trying to connect dots and started throwing out accusations that Ice had been displaying predatory behavior and was talking inappropriately with a minor, and Chris began investigating Ice. Chris was also able to secure another interview with Ice, and as things began to get heated up, fans was ready for another interview in the same vein as the Blade interview. But fans was disappointed with a quick live stream from Chris instead, apologizing, stating that Ice decided to opt out of the interview, worried that he might get swatted again. And previously, he invented another live stream, responding to clips that was around Ice, but hackers caused the stream to go down and never be live. And this is where I call bullshit. Chris's streams have always been pretty interactive with the chat. Chris and or Vince would have noticed something pretty much immediately when no one was talking in the chat, when there was no chat at all. Furthermore, Chris and Vince say the reason they cannot redo what they've already done, well, that's the problem. They don't really give a concrete way. They kind of say it's because of the way they're live streaming, but they also don't say what's different than the way they usually live stream. Is your usual program not working? You don't know how to run OBS, or you guys like live streaming on mobile? Like you're not really telling why it's not working. And lastly, which this reason isn't even half as strong as the previous reasons that I believe this was bullshit. They lay the fault of the stream not being live to hackers. The reason I don't really buy this is because this was the same excuse they used for the doxing of Yap Yap. And also, not only did they second time using it, this excuse also will continue to pop up time and time again in the future, with more specifically Vince. After the stream, Chris completely dropped the Ice Poseidon case. Some claim it was due to the fact that Ice actually paid Chris off. Hell, this is even the first search result when you look up Ice Poseidon Chris Hansen. I really don't know. Personally, I don't think Chris would accept Ice paying him, not because of the morals, which I do also think Chris would have, and integrity. Also because, if you think about it, if Ice was willing to pay Chris off, there's something underlying Ice's point, unless he's just scared. Exposing Ice would lead into a lot more views, and also lead to a lot more subs and ad revenue, which would be way more valuable than whatever Ice would pay Chris at the time. But no one knows the real reason why Chris dropped the case, except for Chris. However, after moving on from Ice, Chris set his eyes upon another YouTuber, which he has actually pretty much bought Chris gold. I will not, however, be talking about that right now, as that is a whole nother scenario I want to get to later. But going off the Ice case, some demons also began emerging during the new investigation.
Knock, knock, let the devil in, malevolent as I've ever been.
With the Blade investigation, the Ice Poseidon investigation, and the still ongoing Onisto investigation, Chris Hansen's channel was booming with subs. Chris's channel is currently sitting above 200,000 and is still growing rapidly, and while Vince was not doing it so well himself, to each his own, Vince still saw this new influx of subscribers and figured out a plan to turn those fans into dollar signs. Vince started talking about these two websites that he claimed to have built in-house, completely in-house, on a do-it-yourself website builder. Westmost and Baked Salmon ended up collabing on a video exposing Vince's shitty website and revealed that he didn't just build it in-house like he said he did. He actually paid $40 for a script that was available on one of the, script sites, I don't know what they're called, and was charging people anywhere from $15 a month to $70 if you got the premium plan a month for the website. Now, let me go ahead and just say, The problem isn't that Vince is charging people for his website. That's something that a lot of YouTubers do, whether it's, not so much of a website usually, but everyone makes a product when they start getting fans to charge their fans for it, Hell, even me and Matthew have done it. Me and Matthew have talked about doing merch designs for you guys. And almost every YouTuber has at least a merch or a Patreon page. The problem was that he blatantly lied to his audience about the product, claiming that built it in-house, worked on it, his blood, sweat, and tears went into this website, when it was a script that he'd done almost nothing to change. Hell, even a few of the grammatical errors that was in the script were made on Vince's website. Which, after you see how Vince types, it could very well just be Vince trying to, respell it and still fucking it up the same way. I can buy that Vince fucked it up the same way. But this one website wasn't Vince's only project. Vince also had another website that he titled Pro Streams. Pro Streams was a website that functioned all like YouTube. You could upload your content to it, and, anyone could upload the content to it when membership. And Vince, on stream, when he's talking about it, not only claimed to have the approval of Chris Hansen, but he even said that Chris loved the website so much, he eventually wanted to start moving all this content to Pro Streams, and eventually have all the shows exclusively on Pro Streams. He also, in the same stream, has claimed to spend over a year developing Pro Streams. The problem? West and Baked Salmon have also proved that Vince did not do any of the work, and even worse, this time he didn't just pay for a $40 script, he paid for a free script on GitHub. This also isn't the only time Vince has blatantly lied to his audience. Over on Twitter, Vince tweeted out a meme of a bus carrying disabled children and claimed it was a picture from a Nissan back when he was in primary school. When people started pointing out the fact that this was not only insanely insensitive to people with disability, but also very offensive, instead of apologizing or hell, even holding his ground and saying, this was just a meme for people who like, the offensive humor. Look at offensive memes on Instagram. They pop, and this is for those people. He tried to worm his way out of it by saying this. This is what happens when you leave your phone unattended with your friends and family drink too much again. End quote. What's the matter, Vince? You don't have a passcode on your phone? Also, I love the way he says this. I know GG mentioned this, but I just love it so much. I love how he's like, my friends and family, it's not like a friend of yours, or it's just one family member. No, it's your entire friends and family collecting together each other on New Year's, and sitting on your phone like you're taking a shit or something, and just laughing about this Onision meme, and we're gonna post this Onision meme on Twitter, guys. It's gonna be lit. 420 plays it, y'all. Let's post this meme. That's the impression I get. But that's just a meme, right? We've all regretted sending out a meme before, right? Well, Vince has also doxed people in the community. But Nick, didn't you go over that in the recap portion of the video talking about? No, shut the fuck up, because I didn't. He did it again. Again! He got in trouble for it the first time. He's like, you know what? Instead of, stopping there, I'm gonna do it again. This time, he didn't just, leave comments on Reddit or YouTube. No, he tweeted them out and posted pictures so the people who could understand it could, get the picture. The little kids in the audience who, for some reason, is fucking following the guy who catches pedophiles. Why are kids following Vince? Are kids following Vince? That's not the point.
Hi, there is a loser YouTuber, Big Salmon, and West. Hey, Wes and Phil, you realize you are poking the bear at Chris Hansen. I will expose the stuff out of you. It's funny, Wes about his family knows all about it.
Now you're asking yourself, why did I, put a clip there instead of talking about the tweet like I have been? There's actually a really good reason for that. I don't have to tweet my script, but there's even a better reason for that, because I wanted you guys to really hear clearly, because my voice is fucked and my audio's fucked, about what Vince just said. I want you guys to also pay attention to the quote that they poked the sleeping bear. And I'd be saying, Nick, that's a fucking saying. Why is that so important that Vince said that? Well, why is it important to say it? Well, because when Vince started getting backlash from, doxing people again, Vince used hacker tactic to get out of it. But he also then went ahead and claimed that the hacker made a mistake because Chris Hansen was involved and so was the FBI, and the hacker had poked a sleeping bear. And even though both Mr. Gigi and Amanda the Jedi have pointed out that it was a similar phrase, I felt like, I should do that too. It's a carbon copy of the videos pretty much, so why not go ahead and just keep throwing it in there? But speaking of pointing out things Mr. Gigi pointed out, he also noted the fact that the hacker, to be specifically targeting Baked Salmon and Wes, had to see the video. And like I said before, I haven't said it actually before, when the video went up, Vince had completely destroyed Baked Salmon's video again, started refiling copyright claims, and deleted Baked Salmon's channel again. And before Vince snapped Baked Salmon's channel out of existence, the video wasn't that popular. Yeah, sure, Wes uploaded it, but it didn't have thousands of views like the Mr. Gigi video did back in August. It would have went over relatively quickly. So the hacker must really be a big fan of Vince, who is willing to hack into Vince's Twitter to call out these two individuals, or really hates Vince and to try to make it look like Vince. Now I'm going to start coming up with excuses for Vince. But this was definitely Vince. How do we know? Well, because Vince is a dumbass and proceeded to text Wes bragging about doxing Wes. Not only did Vince, brag to Wes about now being Twitter famous, he also texted Wes ahead of time and told him that he'd get fired from his job, even though he's self-employed, and because of what Vince was about to do. And he also proceeded to call Wes, ugly and gay, which someone who is currently in high school, a teenage boy in high school, who is around other immature people in high school, have not heard that insult in forever. He also began to call Wes a pedophile, and I let that sink in. A man who is was partnered with Chris Hansen, whose entire legacy is surrounded by taking down potential predators and pedophiles. It's just throwing around pedophile accusations like it's a fucking battering. All Wes did was expose Vince's lies about his website. Just say he didn't make this in-house. He didn't even fucking do anything but say he made this in-house. He didn't make this in-house. He bought a script. And then Vince proceeded to dox Wes. He doxed Yap Yap again because Vince was on Yap Yap stream talking. He also doxed several others in the community just for the fun of it, I guess, so as a scare tactic to show, oh, I know that much. And he proceeded to make homophobic and racist comments towards Wes and accused Wes of being a pedophile. He also then on Twitter called Yap Yap and Wes alleged hackers in an alleged attempt to turn the community against them. He then went on other shows and tried to discredit Wes even more. He went on Drama and Opinions and told her that Wes was just an angry, salty, dangerous individual who didn't get a job he wanted, even though Wes proved that was not the case. Not only was he offered a job by Vince, he did work with Vince and he quit himself. But luckily, because Vince is such a fucking idiot and told Wes he was going to ruin his reputation, and being stupid enough to just say that over the phone, being stupid enough to send that over fucking text, Wes is suing Vince for slander and will most likely win, and stated that all proceeds of any possible lawsuit will be going to the victims of Onision. Speaking of the victims of Onision, we have one other problem that Vince has done that actually affected. It's pretty common knowledge that Chris Hansen has been looking into Onision and is actually helping law enforcement build a case against Gregory Jackson. This is actually one of the deterrents I had on making this video. I had two major ones. The first one was Vince would see the video and fucking send my channel to hell. And the second one is that Chris is leading the investigation. I didn't want to have a video that, luckily, I waited so long that we kind of got, every criticism I had against Chris in the original script was kind of answered by this point. I didn't want to make a video about Chris and criticizing Chris and his team when he's spearheading the investigation that is stopping a fucking monster who's been getting away with this for so long. But Vince is trying himself to send the investigation to hell and almost fucking killed it right in the... just almost fucking completely obliterated the investigation on Chris's side. Now I'm asking, how the fuck did he do that? How did Vince fuck it up again? Well, one of the victims of Nissan had actually sent Chris and Vince her laptop to be used as evidence in the FBI case. And Vince did not turn that laptop into the FBI, and instead had it sitting in his office the entire time. Why is this such a big deal? Well, for starters, the victim was told her laptop was being used as evidence in the case against Greg, and it wasn't. The laptop could have had the most damning evidence ever that could just instantly put Craig and Kai away. No more evidence needed. A jury would instantly convict them with just what's on the laptop. But instead of being in the hands of law enforcement what could actually be used against Greg, it was sitting in Vincent's popcorn-covered hands. Secondly, this began to put the entire FBI investigation into question. People were starting to doubt that Chris was actually working with the FBI. I mean, was this just a way for him to go into a buzz around his channel? Hey, I'm working with the FBI to take down Onision. That's a hell of a headline. And hell, it wouldn't even be the first time that Vince, in particular, would use the FBI as a threat that when they wasn't involved in the first place. We now do know that the FBI is indeed working on a case against Onision, thanks to Chris's live stream on the 29th, but it did seem very unlikely at the time, and this could have quickly killed the people's support of Chris in his investigation. The investigation could have lost steam and died down. And while this was all at the boiling point, Chris decided to pay Greg a visit at his home in Washington State to get his side of the story, and 911 had to be called and everything. And the news of this made the fucking rounds. A lot of people forgot about Vince. There was, it was, hey, yo, bro, did you hear that Chris motherfucking Hansen, the guy who was from like the 2000s, who caught pedophiles, went to fucking Onision's house, man? Like, this shit is real. Onision's going down. No one fucking cared about Vince anymore. And I have a little theory. Now, I do believe, in fact, that Chris did go to Onision's house for his side of the story. He did try to go for Blade and Ice for their side of the stories, and, did get an interview with Blade, and Ice turned down the offer. Maybe Onision, being as high profile as it is, he wanted to ask in person, or never got an answer from Onision. But I don't believe this was Chris's idea. I believe that someone who was, currently in the spotlight for shit that he's done, was looking on the way to get the spotlight back on Chris and Onision. And maybe this someone was someone who was all about publicity stunts and didn't believe in bad publicity. I think it's definitely plausible and that they may have suggested going to Onision's house. But lucky for us, even if that was Vince's plan, even if this was his idea to make things go over it so he can escape the consequences, it didn't work.
As you know, I've recently been reviewing the actions online and in person of my web producer, Vincent Nicotra, things he's said and done without my permission and without my knowledge. I've come to the conclusion that I can't condone much of what he's said and done, and I can no longer work with him in any way going forward.
And it's taking out his anger like a 5-year-old on Chris's Facebook page by just posting his mugshot over and over. Good job, Vince. Good job, Vince. Because, I hope he knows that when people make stuff like this on you, this is going to be in the search engine. My video not particular, but, Gigi's video, Man of the Jedi's video, West Moses' videos, Baked Salmon's videos. And they're going to see this shit and be like, maybe not work with him. That's why I got 2 Twitters. Good going, Vince. Good going. I'm honestly, I'm gonna miss you, man. I'm gonna miss the dumb shit and you eating popcorns while victim tell the story. So, is this the downfall of Chris Hansen? No, I don't think it is. I honestly don't. But it would have been. It absolutely would have led to a downfall if Vincent was never removed. The reason? Because all the shit Vince was doing. He was doxing people and he was hurting Chris's reputation. If Chris didn't address this now, when he did, things would have went worse and the people who are supporting him now would have been just like the TCAP community. and he would have been left on his own again. This time, he might have been able to bounce back. Even furthermore, at first when I wrote the script, I was very skeptical of Chris. I had a whole thing talking about, why this whole thing in Chris's situation is in place in this, and Chris did actually address a lot of the things I was going to originally say in his live stream. He said in the first thing happening, when all the distractions went on, Vince told Chris, because Chris wasn't that well with how YouTube worked, which I can believe. He really wasn't doing it on his own until the beginning of 2019. Never True Gone Daily ditched his ass, so I can very well believe that this was the case. And then Vince was telling him this is all completely necessary, and Chris believed him until the videos about the whole thing started coming out, and Chris realized that this was why Vince was doing it. He told Vince to reinstate all the channels immediately, and if he would never do it again. And then when things started happening again, and Chris caught wind of it, he fired Vince. But, and he even went as far to apologize to the TCAP community, and even mentioned members in Pacific, who was the target of Vince's rage and aggression and his vindictiveness and the doxings that Vince did. He went as far, and he even apologized to them directly. That really smoothed it over for me. You can ask Mason on Twitter, who edits some of my videos and portions of my videos. The original ending of the script was very fucking skeptical of Chris, and even targeted Chris a bit. Because this whole video has pretty much been about Vince. What Vince has done. Like, the farthest we went was the whole drop in the Ice Poseidon case, which was more just describing how we got to the Onision case more than actually criticizing Chris. But this was really about Chris at the end, and he almost solved all my skepticism. The only things I really think the discussion left about is Chris' actual placement within this. Is Chris lying? Was Chris really complicit with this, knew what was happening but wasn't stopping it, was saying anything? He wasn't pulling the trigger, but he wasn't stopping the gunman either. And whenever this started happening again, and there was a bad PR look, and the investigation was going to head south, that's why he fired Vince. If it wasn't as bad as it was, if the press wasn't as bad as it was, if it wasn't could ruin this investigation, would he just tell Vince to knock it off? I think there's definitely a discussion there, but I feel for the most part Chris has actually, really helped pave way for the community, and I am happy that he cut ways with Vince. The only issue that Chris could have now, the only real issue that Chris could, go through now, is his lawyer, Mac Morris, who is currently into middle of the controversy himself with law, with the whole insurance scheme, no fault insurance scheme, I think. I don't know much about that. There's only like one article on it, and it was like, I really didn't want to talk about it because I'm not an expert in that scenario. I just saw like an Instagram comment pointing it out, and it said GG talked about it, so I'm not going to go too in depth with that. But Chris said he's looked into it, and Mike checks out, and I hope this isn't another Vince case, but I don't think this could, downfall Chris like Vince was going to. So I want to go ahead and thank you guys. So thank you guys for making it this far into the video. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. I really put my full blood, sweat, and tears in this video, and I really like to ask, but could you guys please actually leave a like and subscribe if you're new and share this with your friends on social media or whatever, because it really does help the video, and I spent over like a week, just so you guys know how long I spent on this video. Scripting began, I wrote the first draft of the script on January 15th, 2015. 2020, I mean. And this video is either going up on the 3rd or the 7th. So it would really help me out if you guys would, just bump that up, like button, and share it. You can also check me out on Twitter at RelatedYT while I talk about comic books. And starting on the 24th, you can check me out on the Mediocre Podcast with me and my co-host, Matthew Moore Productions, or Technique. We'll be talking every Friday about some dumb shit, and we'll probably talk about why both of us have been posting nothing relevant to what we normally post for the last little bit, starting every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 12 or noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.
Knock, knock, let the devil in, malevolent as I've ever been, head is spinning.